All right, Cypher. Now it's your turn. All right, Cypher. Are you over 18 and
Yeah.
are
Yes,
you a
yes,
black
yes.
person?
I am not a black person.
But are you over 18?
I am over 18.
Cool.
I probably sound like
All
but
no, all good. Why should black people be Christian or Muslim?
I mean, from my stance, you're allowed to choose whatever you like to choose.
Of course.
Now, if I want to argue for my religion, because even for my religion, which I'm Greek Orthodox, I was raised Greek Orthodox. You have the right to choose your own path. There's a time. It says so in the Bible. There's a time and a place when you can bring the Lord to the front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you should respect their own decisions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go back on the so in the Greek Orthodox Church, we do believe the people who bear the names of the books, like Matthew. What books did you mention? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right?
Yeah, the Gospels.
Yeah. In Greek Orthodox, we do believe they were written by Saint Matthew, Saint Mark, Saint Luke, and Saint John.
I understand.
Who
I understand. There's
Saint
no way to
Matthew,
show
who
that
was an
because
apostle.
I understand. There's just no way to show that because they don't identify themselves.
In what sense? Say again.
They do not identify themselves. They're completely, excuse me, they're completely anonymous. They do not identify themselves in those texts. They do not say, my name is John and I'm writing this in the first or however dates that they used. Of course, back then they didn't use first century BC. Of course, they wouldn't do that. But whatever date that they calendar that they used back then, they didn't write any of that. So we have no idea who wrote
You're
it.
right. Gospels don't begin with the author's name. They weren't written like letters, where it says Paul, I, Paul. But the earliest Christians, regardless, in the early testimonies, who lived closest to the time of the apostles, like Papias, and Irenaeus. Do you know about those two guys?
I've heard of them in passing. Yeah, sure.
They actually do identify them. So those are the guys who are leading the strongest evidence that they are authorship to those books. Sure, they may have had a ghostwriter. Well, they told the book, but it is their story, so therefore they did technically write the book.
So some guy says that these guys wrote it. I don't. You see the problem there, right?
There's historical evidence
Of what?
We actually have, like I said, we have historical testimony about those quote unquote guys, which were Papias, where he said Matthew wrote in Hebrew and Mark recorded Peter's preachings. So,
You said Papias?
yes, Papias.
Papias of Hierapolis?
Yes. He's a Greek apostolic father. So the Greek Orthodox Church, do you know about the Great Schism?
Yeah, I know about it.
Okay. You know about like the whole history. No, the Catholics. No, the Greeks.
Yeah, and they had a split for some reason. I'm not sure what the reason was because both of y'all believe that Jesus was the Son of God, right? So not sure what the split was about.
It does have a part to do with the Trinity, in a sense that like basically they didn't believe in like the Pope. They were like, no, one person should not have universal jurisdiction over all Christians. That like doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
Because that's like they're like that's a man, like they still respect him, but they're like, no, you're a man.
He doesn't have authority over all Christendom. Okay, yeah, I get it. Now that makes sense. All right, but yeah, when it comes to Papias, at least it looks like or Irenaeus actually, it looks like there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more complicated than what you're saying, but
there's a lot of you looked up Saint Irenaeus of Lyons. He's one of the most important church fathers for the main of
I understand
Christianity.
That. Right, I understand that this is what church tradition tells us, right? I get that, but outside of church traditions, what actually do we have to know that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John actually wrote Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they eyewitness, Jesus walking on water, rising from the dead, and a whole bunch of zombies walk the streets like how it says in Matthew?
So you're right. There is no, okay, to my knowledge at least, there's no outside eyewitness signature inside the Gospels. But historically, what we have is internal clues inside the text. Even that there's some outside that suggest a Jewish Christian author wrote it was that they wrote it, which was Matthew in terms himself. But it does get a little wishy-washy outside of that. I don't have enough research outside of my own religion. I do have some, but like.
All right, sure, cool.
There was
Now, so the question then becomes, if we can't conclusively show this to be true, well, okay, I understand that maybe we can't conclusively show it to be true. Can we somehow show this to be true for us to believe it? Specifically, when it comes to Black people and our traditions that we had before Christianity, why should we give that up for Christianity? That would really be my main question.
Well, you can't prove, we can't prove gospel authorship, but the way you prove like how math is working. Well, we can
right. I don't think I don't really think that's important actually. But besides the authorship, let's say we can't conclude it. Let's say we can't conclude it. Whatever we can do. All right. Maybe that doesn't matter, right? I think what most Christians say would believe is that even if we can't conclusively prove the authorship, the message and what Jesus did and him dying on the cross, that's the important part. Am I correct on that? Right. Let's say the Gospels were completely anonymous. If you hear me, some guy just wrote it. We have no idea who he is. But what's in there, Jesus dying on the cross and dying for humanity, that's the important part, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's the important part. That's the meat and potatoes. The authorship doesn't really matter. The meat and potatoes is Jesus dying on the cross for humanity. Cool. So how do we show that's actually true? And and if we can't show that's actually true, let's say we can't do that, cool. Why should we?
Part of it? Go back.
Okay.
Backtrack.
Let's backtrack. Okay, cool. How do we show that part is actually true? The actual story that's in the Bible. How do we show that's actually true?
About Jesus dying?
Well, he could have died, but I'm talking about like him being a supernatural being that came to earth to die for our quote unquote sins. How do we show that part is true?
There is quite a bit of Roman reporting, such as Pilate. Pilate mentioned him. There is a lot of mention of Jesus actually outside of even the Bible. There is actually a lot of text that comes to my mind.
The one that comes to my mind outside the Bible is Josephus and Tacitus, right? Which is how in Paul's writing, which is why I agree that Jesus was likely a real guy, right? Because Paul met James, and we just have to kind of take it Paul's word for it that he met James, the brother of Jesus, and I think he met son of Zebedee. I forgot what was it Thomas son of Zebedee or Peter son of Zebedee? I forgot, but Paul met one of them, right? So we just got to take Paul's word for it that he met these guys. I have no problem with that. So the question then becomes like, yeah, sure, he met those guys, all good and well, cool. How does that show that Jesus actually rose from the dead and was a supernatural creature that came to earth?
There's multiple eyewitnesses.
Yeah, there is Josephus.
Everybody wait. Everybody wait. It's Cypher's turn. All right, Cypher, go ahead.
Even the Talmud, the Jewish writings, the people who disliked him wrote that he was a sorcerer. They led Israel astray. Supposedly, that's why they disliked him for his. He was promoting magic.
Yeah, that and he was a blasphemer or something like that. And the Romans didn't like him because he was kind of a rabble rouser. He would call what we call today a domestic terrorist, really, according to the Romans. I'm not saying that he was, just according to the Romans.
Yeah. Now I can't obviously prove because we're not there.
Hmm.
We're not there. It's like saying proof of the dinosaurs besides their bones.
Right.
You know what I mean? The
Well, the
same thing.
bones are actually good evidence because it's like, you know, that's the
Yeah.
bones. You feel said. So like that's actually good evidence. And not only that, birds that are alive today have similar morphology, right? But what I would what I would get to, right, is like, okay, so when it comes to Jesus, we can't actually show that part is true. It's all due on faith. Cool. I have no problem with that. My issue with when it comes to faith is that it doesn't actually lead you to necessarily to what's true, right? Because the Greeks had a whole bunch of faith in Zeus, but there's not a guy in the sky shooting down lightning bolts, right?
Yeah. No, that was actually very shortly lived. The original Bible was written in Greek.
I would
That
also
was-
say one thing that there's a very stark difference between Christianity in the sense of who God is among and what He means to people as opposed to any other religion.
All
I
right,
don't
cool.
think
Hey,
Zeus.
Joey, can you give us a second because it's Cypher's turn first. All right.
It's all right. I'm actually gonna bail, man. I appreciate you letting me up. Sounds like you're in good faith. I hope you continue in good faith. So peace out, guys.
Not a problem. Appreciate you. All right, yeah, Cypher. So, like, a lot of the reasons why I ask these questions is because we know the history of the West, right? And we know how the majority of Black people became Christian. So that got me starting to asking, what did we do before we met these other people, and what did we do before we had this religion? We had something completely different, right? So why is it that we should give up our spiritual and cultural heritage for this one that's foreign? You see what I'm saying? I know for you this is the truth and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But still for us, why should that be accepted as the truth? Hold on, everybody wait. Is
Everybody.
I'm asking
That's the whole
Cypher. I'm asking
I
Cypher.
apologize.
Yeah, it's
that's
Cypher's
the
turn.
whole
I got
thing
you.
about the-
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Cypher.
man.
My bad.
That's the whole thing about the religion, man. Is it's not. I don't have to make you believe at all. Like it's your decision,
Mhm.
to believe in it or not. It's for you to accept it. That's literally what the Bible tells you. It's for you to accept it. It's like you can,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
right,
why.
right. Right, I got you. All right, give me a second, just 1 second. All right, everybody who is watching me on my YouTube, I do appreciate you. If you want to come up and talk to me about this subject, go ahead and hit that request. That request button is in the description, and I'll put it into the comments below. If you will just give me a second, I'm gonna put it into the comments below. If you would like to come up and talk to me about this subject, I appreciate everyone who's talking to me now. All right, Cypher. I do really appreciate you, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to.
Before I cut you off,
Yeah, go ahead.
One cool thing about in African before colonization, they actually did believe in a supreme creator, and they honored their ancestors to use rituals to connect with the divine, but they still believed in a one supreme creator.
Yeah, of course. Over in West Africa for the Yoruba, it was Olodumare. For West African Vodun, it was something else, and in the Congo, it was Bakanga. It was a whole bunch of different ones. You know what I'm saying? And it was more of a way of life than what we think about and when it comes to religion. But I do appreciate you being up here, Cypher. Like you were a great guest. I appreciate you. All right. All right.
Yeah, hopefully we can have another conversation.
Definitely we could talk about this more. All right. Excuse me, y'all. A bubbly. I'm gonna